Now, the reason why why I say that is because I always see kids, especially, some of my friends that, I follow on social media. They usually spread a lot of, activism, but it isn't really activism when I see them post a Free Palestine post and then post a a cup of Starbucks like literally a week after, which is very contradictory. Now you can make the argument saying, oh, but the monopolies, like, oh, it kind of makes us hard. It kind of makes it hard to like support a cause when everything's just run by this, that, the third, which I understand, and that's true, 110%. But you cannot contradict yourself with posting that and just call yourself an activist while doing it. And some people may like be like, oh, but Exxon, what do you know about activism? Actually, I know quite a lot about being an activist. Going outside and protesting, donating to a cause, and actually contributing your time and work towards something that actually means what if it actually means anything to you, to make it better and known. But with now, with social media, as I mentioned in my previous video that I made this week, people just kind of put on a facade, and there's really I don't really see it as like, oh, I'm helping. It's more like, I'm on the right side of morality. It's not being morally good per se, which I understand. It's totally fine whether you want to be on the right side. It's your opinion, by all means. But you cannot be like judgmental, especially towards like somebody that's, out of the way. Now, I'm not saying you should not care about these issues. I feel like there's a time and place where you should care about an issue, whether maybe not political or, such and such. But yeah, the way I see it, especially nowadays with my peers, is like they post one thing and then they do a totally other, because posting on social media isn't really like helping the cause to say. I feel like helping is actually donating and, as I said, protesting to such and such to actually get your point across. Yes, it's hard to maintain a perfect perfect persona of like, oh, I like this, but I'm not gonna try that hard. I'm just gonna post it on my Instagram story or my Snapchat or my Twitter or whatever, and just let it be. Which I don't really see like the benefit in that. Another thing is human rights violation. And a lot of people post about one thing, like what's going on in, the Middle East, but then they don't talk about what China's doing to Uyghurs or Tibet and, in those areas, which is totally fine. There's not like, there's no like issue with you being focused on one thing, but I've spoken to many people that don't even know what the fuck they're talking about at sometimes, and be like, oh, but it's propaganda, and also it's all it's not propaganda. What's going on in China, obviously it's not on the same magnitude of what's going on to the Middle East, of course, but it is still something that we should talk about. And coming from a Kosovo Albanian family, such as myself, my family immigrated here in the 90s. I've spoken to some people that don't think what happened there actually happened, which is a huge spin in the face. I definitely recommend you guys should pick up books, because nowadays we don't even, people aren't knowledge or educated on certain things. I think for me, as I mentioned before, I am pretty educated on my own history. I'm pretty educated in history in general. Now, am I trying to say I know everything? Absolutely not. I'm not perfect, and I'm working on it. I need to learn everything. But you cannot go up to somebody and be like, oh, well, were you actually there? Which is right. It's not my trauma because I didn't experience it. But you have no right to be like, oh, that didn't happen because it's CIA propaganda, and just because Yugoslavia was communist, that we should give them the benefit. No. Whether you're a capitalist, communist, or fundamentalist, you need to be morally right. And before people come at me, yes, nothing is perfect. Capitalism is not perfect, communism is not perfect, and fundamentalism is not perfect. But that should not give you a reason to fucking hate each other's guts to the point where you're wishing death on somebody. No. That's why I'm tying it back to performative activism, the way that some people just don't know how to express and just very like, oh, that person doesn't agree with me, so they're my enemy. You shouldn't think like that. You shouldn't think like that. Like, of course, like as I said, I've spoken to some people that, did agree what Milosevic did to my family was good, which I disagree passionately, and I do not talk to those people, but I will never wish death on them, because that's extreme, and that's when you become a radicalist, because you become that, you're stooping as low as them. And obviously it's okay to feel emotional and passionate about things you care about. It's fine. But actually do something about it instead of whining and complaining. Go outside and protest. If you want to complain, protest. That's literally the whole reason I was protesting. And I'm not saying like one issue is worse than the other. Every issue is bad. But instead of sitting on your couch and posting about it, do it. Like, donate, contribute, do something. And if you do that, that's perfectly fine. And if you want to post, it's perfectly fine. But you cannot contradict yourself with the fact that you say you help and contribute when you really don't. Now, more on the positive end of performative activism, which I don't really think there is that much positivity when it comes to performative activism, but I will say is that it does bring more attention to some issues that we do not really discuss as much, which, whether it be, human rights violations, natural disasters, or, something that's pollution and all that stuff, the whole yard. Now, do I think it's a good way of spreading information? Yes. But I will say you should definitely take some time to research it yourself before you jump on the bandwagon that everybody else is doing. Now, I'm not trying to say, the way activists or the way activism works, like it's different in everybody's eyes, 100%. But you should definitely do your own research before you want to say or you want to be a part of the herd. And, we've kind of fallen back to, to agree to disagree. We failed, especially as time has went on. We've gotten to these like issues where somebody puts a target on their back if they say the wrong thing, or if somebody doesn't agree, they're lower than fucking rats, which we should not think that way at all. We should not think as somebody lower than us. Like, yes, you can have strong feelings towards somebody, and that's perfectly fine. But we need to kind of rewind it back towards to agree to disagree, which we are slowly but surely getting there. I feel like as time goes on, we've, especially with the newer generations, they've kind of matured. But yeah, there's always going to be bumps in the road. Now, moving on to why I think performative activism's good. Because in life, there's always going to be a balance between good and bad. If you guys ever watched Avengers: Infinity War, and you remember that one scene with Thanos pulling out the blade, with I think, was her name Gamora? Well, he's like, balance. There's always going to be good and bad. I don't know if that was the scene exactly, but that's what I'm quoting. So, with that being said, I do think that performative activism has its pros as much as it has its cons. So with the pros, as I said before, brings light, sheds light to something that somebody might not have known, or something somebody doesn't really not too educated on, but they want to get more into it, which is fine. As well as, kind of like waving, as much as I said, like, it's a bandwagon type of thing, it kind of like fortifies the opinion and kind of, pressures some governing body, whether it be government or, company and all that stuff, to really, change its, agenda, which I love. Unity is everything, especially, when it comes to, activists and all that stuff. It's a beautiful thing. But you cannot like be able to, like, you can't say one thing and double down on it the next. You really can't. Because I could say, free Tibet, but then I could just, go along like with somebody that's, very anti-Tibet, and that just kind of makes me look dumb. And, to be honest with you, I don't want to look dumb. I'm not saying I want to be I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room, but you want to be, as I said, you want to be consistent with what you preach. And I feel like the generation has a hard time of doing that. But as of right now, I've seen some growth with a lot of people, and I've spoken to some people, and they kind of have their head on the right track, which I disagree. Like, I disagree with a lot of people, but as time went on, I've spoken to people that are actually educated enough to not like hate me, and obviously they may disagree with me on a certain topic, which is fine, but I'm glad that we've come to an agreement to not treat each other one as less, I'll never treat somebody as less because they like vanilla ice cream and I like chocolate ice cream, I'm not gonna say that because that's just too radical, because it's never, with hatred, you never get anywhere. You really don't. Now, with the final segment of the video, what you can pick from this and from my little rant that I have, there's one or two things, because I actually have my opinion on this. If you are going to post about a problem in a social issue that you're not going to partake in, I'd rather you not just post it at all. And that might seem harsh, and I know I said in the previous video, you post what you want, and I get that. But if it's a serious social issue like human rights violations or natural disasters or causes, you should not use it as a platform. Use your platform as to be like, oh, I'm trying to get some fucking pussy from some girl. That's so immorally wrong, because I've actually met people that have done that trying to impress girls. Like, I met somebody that posted Free Palestine, not because he gave a fuck, it's because he wanted to get in some girl's fucking panties, which is fucking disgraceful. Excuse my language, but that is crazy. So, moving forward, secondly, you should do something about an issue instead of posting it. I'd rather you do that. I'd rather you be at the protest. I'd rather you donate. I'd rather you make an art piece or something like that to actually protest, instead of posting it and be like, oh, look at me. I'm a morally good person. No, you're not. You're really not. So you should definitely get to it, and you should definitely, and not even get to it, but we should just be better, to be honest. We should be better at caring about things that just because, like, not because they're trending, it's because we actually care about it. Now, you're gonna meet some people that be like, well, I got my own shit worrying about. I got my own shit to worry about. I got bills. I'm too young. Which, and in fairness, for a certain amount of time, I felt the same way too. I'm not proud of it, but I definitely was at an age where I didn't really care about certain issues. But as I've gotten older, I tend to care way more now. And you can throw tomatoes at me, I get it. Oh, I'm a fucking sellout, I get it. But with age, as you come along in age, you should definitely start caring about certain things, like politics, social issues, and just things. You should just care about things, because like, it's kind of sad to see people not really care and just like kind of just be a fucking jester in a circus and be like, oh, I'm doing something, but I actually don't care. You should really definitely care about things. And I'm not telling you what to care about, but you should definitely care. You should care if your freedom of expression is, getting taken away from you, or if something that like SAG-AFTRA, like the writer's strike and all that stuff, you should care about that. I'm just giving examples. I'm not actually telling you to care about that if you're not interested, but there's certain things that you should really care about. So that's my whole spiel. I hope you guys enjoy. I've been getting better at talking to the camera more, so I will try to, get back to my street journalism type of thing, just asking random people. But technical difficulties, but I'll be back in business. I just feel like I want to step my toes into something else in a different field, same as I did with the video I posted this week. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and see you again.